For over 12,000 years, the Athetheran Empire had known only one direction forward. Every star they desired became theirs. Every civilization that resisted disappeared into history. Entire galaxies whispered the same warning to their children. When the Athetheran banners appear in the sky, surrender before they speak. Their fleets were legendary. Moon-sized command fortresses, planet-cracking siege platforms, billions of autonomous warships connected through a quantum intelligence network that reacted faster than thought itself. No alliance had ever defeated them. No empire had ever survived them. When the Galactic Council announced that the next target would be a primitive species called humanity, almost no one objected. Earth was insignificant, a single yellow star on the edge of explored space. No member of the Council considered humans a military threat. Their territory was small, their diplomatic influence almost non-existent. Their fleet rarely left its own borders. Most believed humanity lacked ambition. Others assumed they were simply afraid. Only a handful of ancient observers remained silent. They had watched Earth for centuries, and silence, they knew, often hid unimaginable strength. Inside the Imperial throne world, Emperor Kai stood before a massive holographic projection of the Milky Way. Hundreds of admirals surrounded him. "The reports?" he asked calmly. Grand Admiral Sarion stepped forward. "Humanity possesses approximately 300 visible warships." A wave of quiet laughter spread across the chamber. "Diraya deployed more than that to escort." Diplomatic envoys. "Our simulations estimate complete surrender within 48 standard hours." Another admiral nodded confidently. "Their industrial capacity cannot support prolonged warfare. They possess advanced fusion technology, but nothing approaching Imperial singularity weapons. Their colonies are few. Their economy is localized. They are isolated." Every report reached the same conclusion. "Easy victory," Kai smiled. "Then we shall make an example of them." He turned toward the star map. "Mobilize the first celestial armada." The room fell silent. Even seasoned admirals looked impressed. The first celestial armada had not been deployed in over 2,000 years. It contained over 80,000 capital ships, millions of escorts, thousands of artificial moons converted into mobile fortresses. Entire mobile shipyards accompanied the fleet. Its arrival alone had forced civilizations to surrender without firing a shot. This time it was being sent against Earth. Across known space, the news spread almost instantly. The Empire marches on humanity. Markets collapsed. Trade routes shifted. Refugees fled sectors expected to become war zones. News stations broadcast endless discussions. Military analysts predicted Earth's destruction within days. Some even placed bets on how long humanity would survive. 3 days, 5 days, 1 week at most. Only the oldest civilizations refused to participate. Their representatives simply watched, waiting, far away, beyond every commercial hyperspace lane. Hidden among the frozen darkness surrounding Pluto, a single human listening station received the first quantum signatures. No alarm sounded. No panic erupted. Commander Elena Ward calmly looked at the incoming data. "They're finally coming." An officer looked surprised. Only finally, she nodded. "We expected them 27 years ago." The room remained perfectly calm. No shouting, no emergency procedures. Instead, every officer executed prepared instructions, without hesitation. Encrypted quantum messages left the station. None traveled toward Earth. Instead, they disappeared deeper into the solar system, toward locations that officially did not exist. On Mars, construction drones suddenly stopped mining. Entire underground factories awakened. Massive blast doors opened for the first time in centuries. Gigantic objects began rising from beneath the planet's crust. Not buildings, not vehicles, warships, thousands of them. Ships so enormous they had remained hidden beneath artificial mountains. Elsewhere, asteroid mining colonies activated dormant reactors. Civilian stations unfolded into military installations. Cargo vessels revealed concealed weapon arrays. The solar system itself began changing quietly, efficiently, almost invisibly. Meanwhile, the Imperial Armada crossed the outer boundary of the system. Grand Admiral Sarion admired the distant sun. So this is Earth. He expected defensive fleets. He expected desperate transmissions. He expected surrender. Instead, nothing. No patrols, no warning, no visible defenses. The solar system appeared. Empty. One junior officer laughed. They're hiding. Another added confidently. They're terrified. Sarion smiled. Advance. The order echoed through 80,000 capital ships. The greatest invasion fleet in galactic history accelerated toward humanity's home. Not one commander noticed that every sensor drone they launched quietly disappeared. Not one realized they had already entered a battlefield, carefully prepared over generations. Far beyond Neptune, something enormous moved. It had remained motionless for over 400 years. Its engines had never been detected. Its existence had never appeared in any galactic database. As ancient reactors awakened, one simple message spread across hidden military networks throughout. The solar system. Guardian Protocol activated. Then, for the first time in centuries, humanity's true defense fleet opened its eyes. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, where sunlight had faded into a pale glimmer against endless darkness, the first celestial armada advanced in perfect formation. 80,000 capital ships glided through the void, surrounded by millions of escorts, drone carriers, and supply vessels. Their engines illuminated the blackness like rivers of molten gold. To the officers aboard the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion, the campaign already felt over. Grand Admiral Sarion watched the tactical display with quiet confidence. No resistance, he said. A communications officer confirmed it. Still no response from Earth Admiral. No military broadcast, no evacuation signals, no fleet movement. Laughter echoed across the command bridge. They've accepted reality. They know resistance is pointless. Perhaps they'll surrender before we even reach Mars. Sarion folded his hands behind his back. Continue at full speed. The Armada accelerated deeper into the solar system. None of them noticed the invisible eyes following every movement. Hidden inside an icy dwarf planet beyond Neptune, Commander Elena Ward stood within one of humanity's oldest military facilities. Officially, the station did not exist. Its records had been erased 4 centuries earlier. Only a handful of leaders even knew its location. Towering holographic displays filled the command chamber. Every Imperial vessel appeared as a glowing marker. Their exact speed, their energy output, their weapon status, even individual fighter deployments. An intelligence officer smiled. They still haven't detected a single one of our observation arrays. Elena nodded. They won't. Another officer looked toward her. The fleet requests permission to engage. She shook her head. Negative. The room became quiet. We don't fight here. We let them come. Several younger officers exchanged confused looks. Elena noticed. You've studied history. They nodded. What is every conqueror's greatest weakness? One lieutenant answered. They believe the enemy will react exactly as predicted. Elena smiled. Correct. And today, we're going to let them keep believing that. Thousands of kilometers away, hidden inside ordinary-looking asteroids, automated defense platforms quietly came online. Their outer shells remained indistinguishable from natural rock. No engine emissions, no electronic signatures, no active radar, only silence. One by one, millions of concealed weapon systems awakened. Mass drivers, plasma accelerators, gravitational minefields, autonomous interceptor drones. Every system reported ready, yet none fired. Patience had become humanity's greatest weapon. Meanwhile, Inside the Galactic Council chambers, representatives gathered around enormous holographic displays broadcasting the invasion. The atmosphere was almost festive. Several ambassadors discussed how quickly Earth would surrender. The Empire won't even need their heavy siege weapons. They'll occupy the system before tomorrow. They may preserve the planet as an industrial colony. Only Ambassador Lyra of the ancient Solari Union remained silent. Her species had explored the galaxy long before the Athetheran Empire had existed. She watched the tactical display carefully. Something felt wrong, very wrong. She leaned toward another elder representative. "Do you notice it? The silence?" The elder slowly nodded. "No fleeing ships, no emergency transmissions, no civilian panic," Lyra whispered. "No civilization facing extinction behaves this calmly. The Imperial fleet crossed another 1 billion kilometers. Still nothing. Not a single patrol vessel. Not one defensive satellite. Even the outer colonies appeared abandoned." Grand Admiral Sarion frowned for the first time. Scan every object larger than 100 meters. Thousands of quantum sensors activated. Results filled the tactical screens. Asteroids, ice fields, comets, nothing else. The sensors found exactly what they expected because humanity had spent centuries designing technology that couldn't be detected by conventional scans. Deep beneath the surface of Titan, Saturn's largest moon, colossal blast doors slowly separated. Ancient mechanisms untouched for generations grown back to life. Inside rested rows upon rows of enormous warships. Each vessel dwarfed anything currently known to the galaxy. Unlike traditional spacecraft, these ships possessed no exposed weapon batteries. Their armor was smooth, featureless, almost elegant. An engineer looked upward as reactor cores ignited one after another. Fleet 9 reports full operational status. Another voice echoed through the cavern. Fleet 12 online. Fleet 17 awaiting orders. Thousands of ships awakened without fanfare, without ceremony, as though they had merely been sleeping. Elsewhere, beneath the oceans of Europa, autonomous factories reached maximum production. Swarms of drones assembled sleek interceptor craft by the thousands every hour. Raw materials flowed directly from hidden mining tunnels. No humans supervised the process. Artificial intelligences managed everything with flawless precision. For over 300 years, these factories had produced ships continuously. Most of them had never been seen, never tested in battle, never revealed to the galaxy. Today, that would change, back aboard the Eternal Dominion. An alert suddenly appeared. Admiral Sarion turned. "What is it?" "A reconnaissance drone disappeared. Mechanical failure?" "We thought so." Another officer interrupted. Then 3 more vanished. The bridge grew quiet. Location. The tactical officer enlarged the display. Approximately 12 million kilometers ahead. Sarion narrowed his eyes. Natural. Interference. No radiation anomalies. No gravitational distortions. No detectable enemy. He considered the report for several moments. Finally, he waved dismissively. "Deploy another reconnaissance wave." Hundreds of advanced drones accelerated forward. Every bridge officer watched the live telemetry. 10 minutes later, one by one, their signals vanished. No explosion, no distress beacon, no debris, simply gone. Silence settled across the bridge. For the first time since entering the solar system, uncertainty crept into the minds of the Empire's finest officers. Far away inside humanity's hidden command network, a single message appeared on every military display. Imperial reconnaissance effectiveness, 0%. Commander Elena allowed herself a faint smile. "They're beginning to ask questions." Her operations chief nodded. "And soon they'll start making mistakes." She looked toward the enormous hologram of the approaching armada. Every calculation had been rehearsed. Every defensive layer positioned. Every fleet commander understood their role. Humanity had not spent centuries preparing for war. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this war. Elena took a slow breath before issuing the next order. Phase 1 is complete. Activate the ghost barrier. Across the outer solar system, billions of microscopic stealth satellites silently shifted into position. The invisible trap surrounding the Empire was finally closing. The first celestial armada continued its advance. Unaware that every kilometer carried it deeper into humanity's carefully prepared trap, Grand Admiral Sarion stood before the brig's panoramic viewport. Beyond the reinforced crystal, countless Imperial warships stretched across the darkness like a river of stars. It was a sight that had broken civilizations before a single weapon was fired. Yet something felt wrong. Not dangerous, just wrong. He turned toward the sensor division. Status. The chief officer hesitated. Admiral, we're experiencing another anomaly. Explain. Our long-range scanners are becoming unreliable. How? The stars are shifting. Sarion frowned. That's impossible. We confirmed the readings 3 times. Entire constellations appeared slightly displaced. Navigation beacons drifted by fractions of a degree before snapping back into place. Quantum communication delays fluctuated by milliseconds. Individually, the errors were insignificant. Together, they made no sense. Recalibrate every sensor array. Already completed, and the anomalies remain. Sirion's confidence remained unshaken. Natural phenomenon. But even he no longer believed his own explanation. Thousands of kilometers away, inside, humanity's hidden command facility beneath Neptune's frozen moon Triton, Commander Elena Ward watched the Imperial confusion unfold in real time. Her intelligence officer smiled. The ghost barrier is operating at 98% efficiency. Billions of microscopic satellites floated silently through space. Each was no larger than a grain of sand. Individually, they were harmless. Together, they formed the most sophisticated electronic warfare network ever created. Instead of jamming enemy sensors, they rewrote reality. Enemy scanners still functioned perfectly. They simply received carefully manipulated information. Every distance, every signal, every radiation source, every gravitational reading. Nothing was entirely false, just inaccurate enough to make every Imperial calculation slightly wrong. Small mistakes building into catastrophic ones. Inside the Galactic Council chambers, observers watched the invasion through live tactical feeds. Several military analysts noticed strange inconsistencies. That's odd. What is the Imperial fleet just adjusted course? So, there was nothing to avoid. Another analyst enlarged the navigation data. They've corrected their heading 7 times in the last hour. Ambassador Lyra quietly leaned forward. They're already inside it. Another representative looked confused. Inside what? Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she watched the human star system with growing respect. I don't think humanity intends to fight this war with ships. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, General Marcus Hale entered an enormous underground command chamber. Hundreds of officers immediately stood. He motioned for them to sit. Fleet status. All hidden battle groups are in position. Orbital rail platforms ready. Lunar Defense Network operational Mercury batteries standing by. General Hale nodded. For centuries, humanity had spread its defenses across every planet, moon, asteroid, and station in the solar system. No single fleet defended Earth. The solar system itself was the fleet. Every world had become a fortress. Every orbit concealed weapons. Every asteroid field hid reserves. Invading Earth meant invading an entire civilization that had transformed its home into an impossible battlefield. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Dominion, reports continued arriving. Admiral, another problem. Our drone formations are drifting. Correct them. We already have. They continue drifting. Sarion looked toward the tactical display. Escort formations that should have remained perfectly aligned slowly spread apart. Supply convoys arrived minutes late. Navigation computers disagreed with one another. Nothing serious, nothing dangerous, just constant, annoying errors. He contacted Fleet. Intelligence, I want a complete explanation. The response came quickly. There isn't one. At the rear of the Imperial formation, Captain Darius commanded one of the Empire's logistics divisions. His responsibility was simple. Keep 80,000 warships supplied. Everything had gone according to schedule until now. Captain? What? Our fuel carriers are reporting conflicting positions. Impossible. We've confirmed visual contact. They're exactly where they should be. But navigation insists they're 200 kilometers away. Darius stared at the display. Visual sensors, quantum sensors, navigation systems, each reported different locations, only by tiny amounts, enough to create confusion, enough to slow coordination. He suddenly realized something terrifying. If every ship sees a different battlefield, no one finished the sentence. Commander Elena listened to intercepted Imperial communications. Confusion spread through every level of the Armada. Not panic. Not yet. Only uncertainty. Exactly as planned. Her operations chief smiled. They're wasting enormous processing power correcting errors. Good. They're becoming dependent on constant recalculations. Excellent. When the real battle begins, they won't trust their own instruments far beyond Pluto, hidden within what appeared to be an ordinary cloud of frozen debris. One of humanity's oldest warships quietly activated. Its designation had been classified for 400 years. HDS Resolute, length 34 kilometers, crew none. The vessel operated entirely through quantum artificial intelligence. Its armor contained materials unknown to every civilization beyond Earth. This primary weapon had never been used, not because it failed, because humanity had never found a worthy target. Until today, massive reactor cores awakened one after another. Blue energy flowed beneath the ship's smooth metallic surface. Nearby asteroids silently moved aside as the giant slowly rotated toward the incoming armada. Still, it remained invisible. Back on the Imperial flagship, emergency alerts suddenly appeared across every tactical display. Unknown energy surge detected. Sarion stepped forward. Source, we can't identify it. Distance, our readings disagree. Some sensors indicated 50 million kilometer, others 300 million. Several reported nothing at all. What is it? No one could answer. The mysterious energy pulse lasted only 3 seconds, then vanished. Sarion narrowed his eyes. Launch another reconnaissance wing. Admiral, the previous 6 waves never returned. His expression hardened. Launch them anyway. 500 advanced reconnaissance craft accelerated into the darkness. The bridge followed their telemetry. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Then every signal disappeared simultaneously. No explosion, no warning, no wreckage, just silence. The same impossible. Silence. Inside humanity's command network, Commander Elena finally received the report she had been waiting for. The operation screen displayed only 3 words. Ghost barrier complete. Every Imperial ship was now inside the invisible battlefield. Every escape route had been mapped, every firing solution calculated. General Hale's voice appeared over the secure quantum channel. Commander, they've crossed the final marker. Elena looked at the glowing icon representing the Imperial flagship. For centuries, humanity had hidden its true strength. Today, the waiting was over. She gave the order every commander in the solar system had trained their entire careers to hear. All Guardian fleets, prepare to reveal yourselves. Across the darkness beyond Neptune, colossal shadows began to move. The Empire still saw empty space, but the empty space was about to answer. Beyond Neptune, the darkness remained absolute. 2. The sensors of the first celestial armada, space was empty. Countless scans had confirmed it. Every asteroid, every fragment of ice, every drifting comet had been catalogued. Grand Admiral Sarion finally relaxed. Perhaps we've overestimated these anomalies. His chief navigator nodded. The ghost readings have stabilized. Navigation is returning to normal. Another officer smiled. Earth is less than 4 days away. Sarion turned toward the massive holographic display of the solar system. So much preparation for an enemy too frightened to fight. The bridge erupted in quiet laughter. Then every screen went black for exactly 1 second. The lights dimmed. Artificial gravity fluctuated. The quantum communication network across 80,000 warships disconnected simultaneously. The silence lasted only a heartbeat. When the displays returned, nothing was the same. Report. Sirion's voice thundered across the bridge. Officers frantically examined their consoles. Quantum communications offline. Navigation synchronization lost. External sensor network rebooting before anyone could understand what had happened. A junior tactical officer froze. Admiral, his voice trembled. I think we found the human fleet. The bridge became silent. Sarion walked toward the tactical display. What fleet? The officer enlarged the image. For several seconds, nothing appeared. Then, one by one, thousands of crimson markers materialized across the map. Not ahead of the armada, not behind it, not beside it, everywhere. The tactical AI immediately counted the contacts. 10,000, 30,000, 70,000. The number continued climbing. 100,000, 150,000, 200,000. Finally, it stopped. Confirmed human capital ships, 247,381. Silence consumed the bridge. Someone whispered, "That can't be correct." Another officer immediately rescanned. The result remained unchanged. More than 200,000 human warships surrounded the Imperial Armada. None had been visible moments earlier. None had emitted detectable energy. They had simply peered. Sarion stared in disbelief. Impossible. No. Civilization possesses a fleet this large. Another officer swallowed nervously. They've been hiding. But where? Nobody answered. Because every human vessel occupied positions that should have been impossible. Some drifted inside asteroid fields. Others floated motionless near frozen dwarf planets. Entire battle groups emerged from regions previously scanned dozens of times. It was as though space itself had opened. Far away inside humanity's command center beneath Triton, Commander Elena Conley observed the Imperial reaction. Her operations chief smiled. The camouflage lattice has been disabled. Every hidden fleet throughout the solar system became visible for over 4 centuries. They had remained invisible through gravitational light-bending fields and quantum masking technology. Humanity had never shown them, not to allies, not to rivals, not even to the Galactic Council. Today, the galaxy would learn the truth. Across every military outpost in the solar system, one transmission echoed. Guardian Fleet 1 confirmed. Guardian Fleet 2 confirmed. Guardian Fleet 3 confirmed. The reports continued endlessly. Fleet 7, Fleet 11, Fleet 24, Fleet 42. More and more hidden armadas revealed themselves. Every planet possessed its own defense force. Every moon concealed reserve fleets. Every asteroid belt contained mobile fortresses. Humanity had not built one navy. They had built dozens. Inside the Galactic Council, panic spread through the observation chamber. Military analysts repeatedly checked their calculations. Every result matched. One representative stood abruptly. "Those numbers are impossible." Another shouted, "The human fleet is larger than the combined navies of the Council." Ambassador Lyra quietly smiled. "I warned you." A frightened delegate turned toward her. "How did they hide this?" Lyra answered softly. "They never hid it. They simply never gave anyone a reason to look." Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Sarion refused to panic. Fleet formation. His officers immediately responded. Battle formation Sigma. Millions of Imperial vessels shifted into combat positions with astonishing precision. Even surrounded, the Empire still possessed overwhelming firepower. Sirion's confidence slowly returned. "Numbers alone do not win wars. Our ships are superior. Our crews are experienced. Our weapons have conquered galaxies." He looked toward the nearest human formation. "They've made their first mistake. They've revealed themselves. Then another alert appeared. The bridge fell silent again. "Admiral, our tactical computers have identified one of the human flagships." The image expanded. Everyone stared. It wasn't merely large, it was monstrous, 34 kilometers long. Its smooth white and gray armored hull reflected the distant sunlight like polished stone. No visible bridge, no exposed engines, no rotating weapon turrets, only elegant, seamless armor interrupted by glowing blue. Energy lines running across the entire vessel. The identification system failed. No known classification existed. The computer displayed only one message. Unknown, superdruged. Another one appeared, then another, then dozens. Finally, hundreds. Every human battle group centered around these gigantic vessels, the Empire's largest fortress ships, suddenly looked ordinary. Sarion frowned. Power analysis. The answer came after several long seconds. "We can't determine it." "Explain." "The reactor output exceeds our sensor's measurement range." Another officer added, "The energy signatures are perfectly stable. No fluctuations, no waste heat, no detectable fuel consumption." One nervous engineer whispered, "That's impossible." Every known reactor produced measurable losses. These human ships did not. Commander Elena received confirmation from every fleet. All Guardian groups report combat readiness. General Marcus Hale appeared on the secure channel. "Permission to begin?" She looked toward the tactical map. The Imperial Armada had stopped advancing. Exactly as predicted. "They're trying to understand what they're seeing." General Hale smiled. "They're too late." Elena nodded slowly. "For 400 years, we prepared for the strongest empire in the galaxy. They believed they were invading Earth." She looked toward the blue, icon representing humanity's homeworld. They never realized they were entering humanity's fortress. She raised her hand. Every commander across the solar system waited. Every hidden defense platform, every orbital cannon, every autonomous fleet, every fortress moon. Her voice remained calm. "Initiate Phase 2. Close the perimeter." Across billions of kilometers of space, human fleets began moving for the first time. Not charging, not attacking, simply repositioning slowly, methodically, like the jaws of an enormous predator closing around its prey. The first Celestial Armada suddenly realized a horrifying truth. They were no longer advancing toward Earth. They were trapped. The tactical display aboard the Eternal Dominion transformed from a map of conquest into a map of survival. Grand Admiral Sarion stood motionless. Thousands of crimson human fleet markers slowly shifted into perfect formation. Not randomly, not emotionally. Every movement followed precise mathematical patterns. The Imperial Tactical AI calculated their positions, then recalculated again. Each result produced the same horrifying conclusion. Probability of successful. Breakthrough 18%. Sarion narrowed his eyes. "Run the simulation again." The AI obeyed. Probability of successful breakthrough 17.9%. Again, 17.8%. The bridge grew silent. No one dared speak. An intelligence officer finally broke the silence. "Admiral, they aren't surrounding us." Sarion looked toward him. "What do you mean?" "They're leaving corridors." The tactical map enlarged. Indeed, human fleets intentionally left enormous gaps between their formations, wide enough for Imperial ships to escape. Several captains smiled. "They've made a mistake." Another nodded confidently. "They're inexperienced." Sarion studied the pattern carefully. "No, they want us to choose." The realization unsettled him. An enemy confident enough to offer escape routes was either foolish or overwhelmingly superior. Deep beneath Mars, General Marcus Hale observed the same formations. A young commander looked puzzled. "Sir, why leave openings?" Hale smiled faintly. "Because those aren't escape routes." The officer frowned. "What are they?" "Kill corridors." The holographic battlefield changed. Hidden symbols appeared. The seemingly open paths were perfectly aligned with concealed railgun stations buried inside asteroids. orbital plasma batteries, stealth, missile platforms, gravitational minefields. Every corridor led deeper into prepared defenses. If they advance, they'll destroy themselves. The young officer slowly nodded. They'll think they're escaping when they're actually following our plan. Hale folded his arms. Exactly. Across the Galactic Council, panic replaced curiosity. Military experts watched humanity's formations with disbelief. One strategist whispered, "This isn't defensive warfare." Another answered, "No, this is strategic entrapment." Ambassador Lyra quietly closed her eyes. The Empire has already lost. Several delegates turned toward her. "They haven't fired a single shot." Lyra nodded. "They lost the moment they entered a battlefield humanity designed centuries ago aboard the Imperial flagship." Emergency conferences began. Fleet commanders appeared through quantum holograms. Marshal Varax spoke first. "We should attack immediately." Another commander disagreed. "They outnumber us 3-1. Our ships are superior. Numbers don't matter." An older admiral interrupted. "They do when the battlefield belongs to your enemy." Arguments spread across the command network. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's highest commanders disagreed. Sarion raised his voice. "Enough." Silence returned instantly. "We still possess the strongest navy in the galaxy." He pointed toward the nearest human fleet. "They've shown themselves. That means they can be destroyed." He issued the order. "Deploy the Vanguard strike groups." Within moments, nearly 5,000 of the Empire's fastest battleships accelerated toward the nearest human formation. Their mission was simple: test humanity's defenses. The enormous strike force advanced confidently. Weapons charged, shields strengthened. Every captain expected the first battle of the campaign. Human ships remained motionless. Not one changed formation. Inside the Human Command Center, Commander Elena Clay watched the Imperial advance. "They've taken the bait." General Hale nodded. "Range 20 million kilometer, no response." "Negative." The young officers around Elena exchanged nervous glances. The enemy fleet continued approaching. 15 million kilometers. 10 million. Still, human ships did not move. One lieutenant finally asked, "Commander, when do we fire?" Elena answered without taking her eyes from the tactical display. "When they believe they've won." The Imperial Vanguard crossed. Another invisible marker. Immediately, hundreds of hidden sensors activated. Far inside the Kuiper Belt, massive circular structures emerged from beneath layers of frozen rock. Ancient weapons awakened, each measured nearly 5 kilometers across. Not cannons, accelerators, magnetic rails, extending for hundreds of kilometers through hollowed asteroids. Their barrels aligned with impossible precision. Power flowed into superconducting coils. Blue light raced along their enormous lengths. Artificial intelligences completed firing calculations. Target locks confirmed. Every solution reached 99.9% accuracy, yet they still waited. Captain Rovan commanded the lead Imperial battleship. His bridge erupted with confidence. No human response. They're hesitating, probably frightened. Rovan smiled. "Maintain attack speed." The distance continued, shrinking. Million kilometer 76. Still nothing. The human formation remained perfectly still, almost peaceful. Rovan laughed. "They've frozen." Suddenly, his tactical officer looked confused. "Captain, what?" "Our sensors detect metallic objects." "Where?" "Everywhere." The display magnified. Tiny signatures appeared around the fleet. Thousands, then millions. Each object was incredibly small. Only a few centimeter-wide debris. "No, they're moving very slowly, almost drifting." Rovan dismissed the report. "Ignore them. Unknown to the Empire. They had entered humanity's smart targeting lattice. Every microscopic drone attached itself invisibly to Imperial hulls, mapping armor thickness, measuring shield harmonics, recording engine frequencies, preparing perfect firing solutions." Commander Elena received the report. Target acquisition complete. Every Imperial vessel within the strike force now carried hundreds of microscopic human sensor drones. No radar, no emissions, no alarms. The Empire never knew they were there. General Hale smiled. They're painted. Elena nodded. Every weak point identified. Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, Sarion received encouraging reports. The Vanguard has reached optimal engagement range. Excellent. He stood tall. Order them to open fire. Across 5,000 Imperial warships, planet-killer plasma cannons rotated toward humanity's silent line. Missile silos opened, particle lances charged. The darkness filled with gathering energy. Bridge crews smiled. The first blow would belong to the Empire. At that exact moment, every human super-dreadnought powered its reactors to full output. Not with explosions of light, not with thunderous energy surges. Simply, a calm blue glow spread across their flawless hulls. Commander Elena spoke one quiet sentence. Permission granted. General Hale answered immediately. Guardian fleets return fire. Far beyond Neptune, hidden rail. Gun fortresses released their first magnetic restraints. Across billions of kilometers of space, humanity's opening salvo began. The Empire would never see it coming. For one brief moment, the solar system became perfectly silent. 5,000 Imperial warships floated in immaculate attack formation, their planet-killing weapons fully charged. Ross. The void, humanity's fleets remained motionless, their smooth white gay hulls glowing with a calm blue light. Grand Admiral Sarion watched from the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Fire. Thousands of Imperial plasma lances erupted simultaneously. Missile swarms flooded the darkness. Particle beams stretched across millions of kilometers, like rivers of burning sunlight. It was the opening volley that had shattered empires for 12,000 years. Bridge officers smiled. No civilization had ever survived the first Celestial Armada's initial strike. Then the impossible happened. The human fleet disappeared, not destroyed, not retreating, simply gone. Imperial weapons crossed the exact coordinates where the ships had stood only milliseconds earlier. The massive plasma bolts continued into empty space. Missiles searched desperately for targets that no longer existed. Particle lances struck nothing. Thousands of planet-killing. Weapons missed completely. Silence filled every Imperial bridge. Captain Rovan stared at his tactical display. What happened? His sensor officer looked equally stunned. They moved. No ship can accelerate that fast. They didn't then explain it. The officer swallowed. Our computers believe. They folded local. Space. Deep beneath Mars. Humanity's command center remained calm. General Marcus Hale watched the battle unfold. Phase shift successful. Every human superdreadnought had activated localized spatial displacement drives. Instead of dodging the incoming attack, they had shifted several hundred meters outside normal space for less than half a second. The Imperial weapons passed harmlessly through the empty coordinates. The maneuver consumed enormous energy, but humanity had spent centuries perfecting reactor technology. Power was never a concern. Commander Elena nodded. They've committed. General Hale smiled. They have no idea what's about to hit them. Far beyond the battlefield. Inside, hollowed asteroids scattered across the Kuiper Belt. The colossal magnetic accelerators completed their firing sequence. Artificial intelligences announced in perfect synchronization. Target solutions confirmed. Projectile velocity 92% light speed. Compensation complete. Then the restraints disengaged. Hundreds of tungsten alloy projectiles, each the size of a passenger train, vanished from their launch rails. There were no explosions, no visible beams, no brilliant flashes, only silent death accelerating through space at relativistic speed. By the time the Imperial sensors noticed them, it was already too late. Brant. Rovan's tactical officer suddenly screamed. Unknown impacts. What impacts? The bridge shook violently, not from an explosion, from sudden deceleration. A projectile traveling at near light speed punched through the battleship. It entered through the bow, exited through the stern without slowing, without exploding, without warning. Everything between those 2 points simply ceased to exist. The bridge split apart. Reactor containment failed. The mighty Imperial battleship broke into glowing fragments. It had been destroyed before its crew even understood they were under attack. Across the Vanguard strike group, the same nightmare unfolded. Warships simply exploded apart. Some lost entire sections of their hulls. Others vanished in silent flashes as projectiles pierced reactor cores. No warning alarms activated. No shields responded. No defensive system reacted in time. The kinetic rounds moved too fast. Imperial computers calculated impact after the ships had already been destroyed. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, chaos erupted. Report. The tactical display flooded with red symbols. 300 ships lost. Another officer interrupted. 600. Then another 1,000. The numbers climbed every second. Entire squadrons disappeared. Not damaged, not disabled. Erased. Syrian's expression hardened. Locate the firing. Source. We can't. There are no energy signatures. How can there be weapons without energy emissions? No one answered. Because humanity's railguns had fired minutes earlier. The projectiles themselves emitted nothing. They were simply metal traveling faster than almost any sensor could detect. Commander Elena watched the casualty reports. No celebration echoed through the command center. Only professionalism. Enemy losses. The operations officer answered. 2,100 confirmed. Continuing to rise. General Hale folded his arms. They still haven't found the rail platforms. They won't. Every accelerator immediately retracted beneath asteroid armor after firing. Within seconds, the weapons became indistinguishable from ordinary space debris once again. The Empire searched desperately, finding nothing. Across the Galactic Council, the observation chamber erupted into panic. Military analysts stared in disbelief. One officer whispered, "The Imperial shields, they never activated." Another slowly answered, "They couldn't. Those projectiles arrived before the shield computers knew they existed." A representative from the Draven Confederacy looked pale. "That's impossible." "Ambassador," Lyra quietly replied, "No, it's preparation." Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, Sarian refused to surrender control. Activate emergency combat pattern. Millions of Imperial ships scattered into unpredictable formations. Standard doctrine no longer applied. Every captain improvised. Every commander searched desperately for invisible enemies. Confusion spread across the fleet, exactly as humanity intended. Then another alert appeared. The bridge fell silent. "Admiral, our forward sensor net has detected movement. Finally target." The tactical display enlarged. Hundreds of human super dreadnoughts slowly advanced from the darkness. Their engines emitted soft blue light. No urgency, no aggressive maneuvers. They moved with absolute confidence. Like predators approaching wounded prey, each vessel dwarfed everything around it. Behind them, thousands more followed, then tens of thousands. An endless wall of white-gray warships emerged from the darkness beyond Neptune. Captain after captain stared in disbelief. The human fleet wasn't charging. It didn't need to. It advanced at a steady, deliberate pace, as though victory had already been decided. Commander Elena watched the same image from Triton. She turned toward General Hale. The Empire expected a desperate defense. Hill nodded. Instead, they found humanity on the offensive. Elena gave her next order. Guardian fleets, advance to engagement line. Across billions of kilometers, more than 200,000 human warships moved as one. The first celestial armada had entered the solar system, expecting to conquer Earth. Now the greatest invasion fleet in galactic history was fighting for its own survival. And humanity had only fired one shot. Silence no longer existed. In the outer reaches of the solar system. Where moments earlier, the void had seemed empty, It was now filled with drifting wreckage, shattered armor plates, and the fading glow of destroyed reactors. Thousands of Imperial warships, once symbols of invincible conquest, had become lifeless debris scattered across billions of kilometers. The first Celestial Armada had never suffered losses on this scale. Not in one battle, not in one campaign, not in 12,000 years. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Grand Admiral Sarion stared at the casualty reports. Every update was worse than the last. Confirmed losses. The tactical officer answered quietly. 4,800 capital ships, another report arrived. Correction. 5,300. The bridge remained silent. No one had expected the opening exchange to end this way. The Empire had fired first, yet humanity had drawn first blood, and they had done it without exposing a single major weapon platform. Sarion forced himself to think logically. Panic is our greatest enemy. He turned toward his senior. Commanders, we adapt. Every victory we've achieved began with overcoming unexpected resistance. The officers straightened. His confidence steadied them. Deploy the Eclipse Hunter wings. Several officers looked relieved. The Eclipse Hunters were the Empire's greatest reconnaissance force. Nearly 100,000 stealth frigates equipped with experimental quantum scanners. If anything could locate humanity's hidden weapons, it was them. The order spread across the fleet. Thousands of sleek black reconnaissance vessels detached from the main formation. Within minutes, they vanished into the darkness. Inside humanity's command center, beneath Triton, Commander Elena watched the deployment unfold. Her intelligence chief smiled. They're searching for the rail platforms. General Hale nodded. They're finally asking the right question. A young analyst looked up. Should we eliminate the scout fleet? Elena shook her head. No, they're more useful alive. The room became quiet. They'll spend hours chasing ghosts. She enlarged the tactical display. Every Imperial scout was being subtly redirected by the ghost barrier. Tiny navigational errors accumulated. Course corrections led them farther away from humanity's real defenses. The Empire believed it was hunting. In reality, it was being led through a maze. Meanwhile, beneath the frozen crust of Europa, another hidden installation awakened. Gigantic circular hangars opened beneath kilometers of ice. Rows of silver-white spacecraft emerged into launch tunnels. Unlike the massive Guardian dreadnoughts, these ships were small, fast, deadly, each measured less than 100 millimeters long. Yet every interceptor carried weapons capable of destroying vessels hundreds of times its size. An AI voice echoed through the facility. Spectre interceptor wings online. Pilot synchronization complete. There were no human pilots. Every interceptor operated through quantum-linked artificial intelligence. They thought faster than organic minds, reacted faster than computers, and fought together as a single consciousness. Over 2 million Spectre interceptors launched silently from Europa. No engine trails, no formation lights, only countless faint blue glows disappearing into the darkness. Back with the Imperial Reconnaissance Fleet, Captain Varro smiled as his scanners detected unusual energy signatures. I've got something. His bridge crew immediately focused on the readings. A cluster of weak emissions drifted between two asteroid fields. Possible human installation. Confirm. The signatures remained steady. Varos grinned. Transmit coordinates. Within minutes, a strike squadron broke formation and attacked the location. Heavy plasma fire illuminated the darkness. Missiles detonated across the asteroid field. Fragments scattered in every direction. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained. Cheers erupted aboard the Imperial ships. We destroyed it. Then the sensor officer frowned. Captain, what the energy signatures? They're still there. What? They've moved. The mysterious signals now appeared 50,000 kilometers away. Then another group appeared behind the fleet. Then another. The Imperial ships chased one phantom after another. None were real. Every signal had been generated by humanity's ghost barrier. Ours slipped away. Thousands of Imperial ships wasted fuel, ammunition, and time attacking empty space. Far above Saturn, hidden among its magnificent rings, Fleet Admiral Sophia Reyes watched the reports arrive. The commander of Guardian Fleet 7 smiled. "They're exhausting themselves." Her executive officer nodded. "They've already consumed 12% of their long-range missile reserves without hitting a single target." Sophia folded her hands. "Excellent. The longer they remain here, the weaker they become." She looked toward Saturn's rings. Millions of ice fragments concealed another human secret. Entire battle stations hidden within the rings slowly aligned their weapons. Hundreds of enormous plasma lances extended from beneath frozen surfaces. The rings themselves had become a fortress. Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, frustration began replacing confidence. The scout fleet reported nothing. The railguns remained invisible. The human formations continued advancing slowly, never rushing, never making mistakes. Sarion clenched his fists. "They're controlling the pace." One of his admirals nodded grimly. "They're forcing us to react." That realization disturbed him more than the casualties. The Empire had always dictated every battle. Now, humanity controlled every decision. Then, an urgent transmission interrupted the bridge. "Admiral, our rear logistics fleet is under attack." The tactical display shifted instantly. Several supply convoys had vanished. No warning, no distress calls. Only empty space remained where hundreds of cargo vessels had been moments earlier. Enemy identified. No visual contact. Another transmission followed. Fuel convoy Sigma destroyed. Seconds later, medical convoy Epsilon lost. Then, mobile shipyard Delta no longer responding. The attack spread across the rear of the Armada. Invisible enemies struck isolated targets before disappearing again. The attackers were humanity's Spectre interceptors. Using advanced optical cloaking and quantum communication, the AI-controlled craft slipped through gaps in the Imperial formations without ever revealing themselves. They ignored battleships, ignored escorts, ignored heavily defended targets. Instead, they hunted logistics, fuel, repairs, ammunition, medical support. Within less than an hour, the Empire supply network began collapsing. Thousands of frontline ships suddenly reported reduced fuel reserves. Replacement ammunition stopped arriving. Damaged vessels had nowhere to retreat for repairs. The mighty Armada was still powerful, but its lifeline had been severed. Commander Elena received the latest battlefield assessment. The operation screen displayed a single encouraging statistic. Imperial logistical capacity, 61% falling rapidly. General Hale smiled. "They're beginning to bleed." Elena nodded. Not enough. She looked toward the glowing icon representing the Imperial flagship. "The Emperor sent his strongest fleet, so we'll ensure he has no fleet left to bring home." She activated a secure quantum channel connecting every Guardian fleet commander across the solar system. "All fleets, prepare for Phase 4. Target enemy command vessels." Across the darkness beyond Neptune, hundreds of human super-dreadnoughts slowly rotated. For the first time since the battle began, their immense spinal weapons extended from within their seamless hulls. Brilliant blue energy coursed through kilometer-long accelerator barrels. Even at impossible distances, Imperial sensors detected the terrifying power building inside them. One nervous officer aboard the Eternal Dominion whispered, "Admiral, I don't think those are railguns." Sarion stared at the approaching wall of human warships. His instincts screamed the truth before the sensors could confirm it. Humanity's opening attack had merely been an introduction. Their true weapons were only now coming online. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion had never been so quiet. Grand Admiral Sarion stood frozen before the tactical display as hundreds of human super-dreadnoughts slowly deployed enormous spinal weapons from within their flawless hulls. Each cannon stretched for kilometers. Blue energy pulsed through crystalline conduits, running the length of every barrel. Unlike Imperial weapons, there was no unstable plasma, no violent energy surges, no overheating reactors. The weapons charged with almost eerie calmness. One engineer whispered, "Energy output." He stopped speaking. Another officer finished the sentence for him, "Is beyond our instruments." The Empire's most advanced sensors had reached their maximum limits. The human weapons exceeded them, deep beneath Triton. Commander Elena Ward remained expressionless. All Guardian fleets reporting ready. General Marcus Hale studied the firing solutions. Target priority. Elena enlarged the holographic battlefield. The Imperial fleet looked enormous, but she ignored the battleships, ignored the escorts, ignored the carriers. Instead, she highlighted dozens of glowing markers. Command ships. Every Imperial fleet depended on quantum coordination. Destroy the commanders and millions of warships would lose synchronized control. General Hale nodded. They'll still be dangerous, but no longer united. Across the solar system, hundreds of human super dreadnoughts received identical targeting data. Artificial intelligences synchronized instantly. Every weapon locked onto a different Imperial command vessel. The calculations finished in less than a second. Not one target overlapped another. No energy was wasted. No shot was duplicated. Perfect efficiency. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Dominion, alarms suddenly erupted. Multiple energy locks detected. How many? The tactical officer swallowed. All of them. Every human flagship had acquired a target. Every Imperial command ship received the same warning simultaneously. Marshal Verax contacted Sarian immediately. They're targeting command vessels. Order evasive maneuvers. The command spread across the Armada. Thousands of gigantic capital ships attempted to alter course, but vessels measuring several kilometers long could not turn instantly. Humanity had calculated that. Commander Elena Clay gave the order. Fire. There was no thunder, no blinding explosion, no wave of brilliant plasma. Instead, hundreds of narrow blue beams flashed across the darkness. They appeared almost delicate, beautiful, until they reached their targets. Marshal Verax's flagship vanished. Not exploded. Vanished. The beam struck its shields. For less than 1,000th of a second, the shields resisted. Then the blue light simply continued. The ship separated into two perfectly clean halves. Momentum carried both pieces forward before secondary explosions consumed them. Every nearby vessel witnessed it. An Imperial fortress ship destroyed in one shot. Another beam struck Fleet Command Sigma. The shields collapsed instantly. Armor melted like wax beneath a cutting torch. The massive command cruiser drifted silently apart before its reactor detonated. Another. Within seconds, 23 Imperial. Command ships ceased to exist. Every shot, one kill, no misses. Chaos spread across the Imperial communications network. Entire fleets suddenly lost contact with their admirals. Orders stopped arriving. Formation algorithms failed. Captains received conflicting instructions from different command centers. Some ships accelerated, others retreated. Many simply stopped. For the first time in 12,000 years, the first Celestial Armada lost centralized control. Inside the Galactic Council chambers, absolute silence filled the room. No delegate moved. No analyst spoke. The casualty numbers climbed too quickly to comprehend. One military observer finally whispered, "Those weapons, they ignored the shields." Another analyst replayed the footage repeatedly. No, they overloaded them. The human beams changed frequency thousands of times every microcond. The shields couldn't adapt. Ambassador Lyra slowly nodded. They studied the Empire. For centuries they built weapons specifically to defeat Imperial technology, back aboard the Eternal Dominion. Sarion struggled to restore order. Reconnect fleet commands. We're trying. Emergency quantum relays activated. No response. Another officer interrupted. Admiral, Sector 12 is retreating. They received no orders. Sector 8 has begun advancing. Sector 5 believes we're ordering a full withdrawal. The once perfect Armada had become fragmented, not because it lacked strength, because it lacked coordination. Humanity had struck the brain instead of the fists. Far above Saturn, Admiral Sophia Reyes watched the battlefield with professional focus. Enemy command network collapsing. Her AI confirmed. Coordination efficiency reduced to 39%. Sophia smiled faintly. Now release the Spectres. Millions of AI-controlled interceptors emerged from Saturn's rings. Like a silver tide, they accelerated toward the confused Imperial formations. Without centralized command, defensive fire became uncoordinated. Ships accidentally blocked each other's weapons. Escort squadrons chased false targets. Entire defense grids failed to activate. The Spectres slipped effortlessly through the confusion. Every interceptor selected a different objective. Shield generators, engine nozzles, sensor arrays, communication antennas. They didn't destroy battleships outright. They crippled them. Within minutes, hundreds of Imperial vessels lost propulsion. Others became blind. Some could no longer communicate. Several accidentally fired upon Allied ships after their targeting systems malfunctioned. The confusion multiplied exactly as humanity intended. Commander Elena studied the latest battle report. The numbers exceeded expectations. Imperial combat efficiency had fallen below 50%. Enemy casualties continued climbing, yet she showed no excitement. This battle isn't over. General Hale agreed. Their main firepower remains intact. They're still dangerous. Elena nodded, which is why we end this before they recover. She looked toward a classified section of the tactical display. A hidden icon slowly illuminated. Designation: Ares Station. Status online. General Hale. Noticed it. So, we're really going to use it? Elena answered quietly. We hoped we never would. Far beyond Pluto, hidden inside what every Imperial survey had identified as an ordinary rogue asteroid. The object suddenly cracked apart. Its rocky exterior drifted away in enormous fragments. Inside, an impossible structure emerged. A colossal spherical fortress nearly 100 kilometers in diameter. Layer upon layer of gleaming white armor reflected the distant sunlight. Hundreds of massive engine arrays ignited simultaneously. Its central apertures slowly opened, revealing a weapon so enormous that Imperial sensors struggled to identify its purpose. A stunned officer aboard the Eternal Dominion whispered, "What is that?" No one answered because there was nothing in the galaxy to compare it to. Commander Elena looked at the immense fortress on her display. For 500 years, humanity had hidden its greatest weapon. Now, the Athetheran Empire was about to discover why no hostile fleet had ever reached the inner solar system. The battlefield froze across billions of kilometers of space. Every surviving sensor, Imperial, human, and civilian alike, locked onto the colossal sphere emerging from the shattered asteroid. It dwarfed every warship in the solar system. Its polished white armor gleamed beneath the distant sun, broken only by immense blue energy conduits that converged toward a circular aperture at its center. The station measured nearly 100 kilometers across. It wasn't merely a fortress. It was a weapon built around another weapon. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Grand Admiral Sarian stared at the impossible object. His tactical officer's voice shook. Unknown installation confirmed. Estimated diameter 100 kilometers. Energy output. The officer stopped. Sarian looked at him. Finish your report. Our instruments have exceeded maximum measurement limits. The bridge fell silent. An engineer tried 3 different sensor systems. Each produced the same result. Error. Energy source unquantifiable. One veteran captain whispered, "That's not a battle station. It's a star deep beneath Triton." Commander Elena Ward watched the final preparations. Every Guardian fleet had completed its assignments. The Imperial command network lay in ruins. Supply lines had collapsed. Their formations were fractured. Now only one step remained. General Marcus Hale looked toward her. Authorization. Elena hesitated for the first time since the battle had begun. Ares Station had never fired at full power, not once. Every previous test had been conducted at less than 1% output. No one truly knew its upper limits. She took a slow breath. Limit output to 22%. Several officers looked surprised. Only 22. General Hale understood. More would destroy half the battlefield. Elena nodded, and possibly Neptune's orbit. Inside Ares Station, thousands of autonomous systems awakened. There were no crew members. The installation was entirely AI-controlled. Ancient reactor chambers unlocked one after another. Fusion, antimatter, quantum vacuum extraction, artificial singularity stabilizers. Power from every system flowed toward the central weapon, deep within the station. An AI announced calmly, "Helios Lance charging, containment stable, output limited to 22%. Blue energy spiraled around the enormous firing chamber. The surrounding darkness itself appeared to bend toward the weapon. Nearby asteroids drifted from their original paths as gravity fluctuated. Even distant planets registered tiny orbital disturbances. The Galactic Council watched in horrified silence. Military analysts compared the energy readings against known superweapons. Nothing came close. One scientist whispered, "It isn't generating energy." Another corrected him, "No, it's manipulating space-time." Ambassador Lyra slowly closed her eyes. The humans weren't building larger guns. They learned to weaponize physics itself. Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, alarms screamed across every console. Extreme gravitational distortion, navigation systems failing, shield harmonics unstable. Sarian shouted, "Target the station." Thousands of Imperial warships immediately obeyed. Planet-killer plasma cannons, missile barrages, particle lances. Everything the Empire possessed converged toward Ares Station. The darkness erupted into blinding light. Millions of weapons raced toward humanity's greatest fortress. Commander, Elena watched without concern. Guardian shield. Across the battlefield, hundreds of human super-dreadnoughts moved into formation around Ares Station. Their blue energy fields linked together. One shield became 10. 10 became 100. A lattice of overlapping defensive barriers enveloped the gigantic station. The Imperial barrage struck. Space exploded with brilliant flashes. For nearly 30 seconds, nothing could be seen. When the light faded, Ares Station remained untouched. The shields shimmered gently. Not a single layer had collapsed. The Imperial fleet had unleashed enough firepower to sterilize planets. It hadn't even scratched humanity's defense. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, despair began replacing discipline. One officer whispered, "They're invincible." Sarian slammed his fist against the command console. "No! No weapon is invincible!" Before another order could be issued, every Imperial sensor registered the same warning. Unknown energy release detected. The Helios Lance had finished charging. The central aperture of Ares Station slowly expanded. Inside, a sphere of compressed blue-white light rotated silently. Its brilliance rivaled the sun itself. The beam hadn't fired yet. Still, every Imperial ship experienced power fluctuations. Artificial. Gravity flickered. Shield generators struggled to remain online. The weapon's mere presence was disrupting the battlefield. General Hale looked toward Elena. Final confirmation. She nodded. Target. The center of the Imperial formation. Objective. Break their will. Not annihilation. Not revenge. Humanity had no interest in extermination. They wanted the Empire to remember this defeat for the rest of its history. Elena spoke clearly. Fire. The Helios Lance awakened. A single blue-white column of light erupted from Ares Station. There was no explosion, no deafening shockwave, only absolute silence. The beam crossed millions of kilometers in an instant. Where it passed, space itself rippled. Imperial warships disappeared, not exploded, not shattered. They simply ceased to exist, reduced to expanding clouds of glowing particles. Entire formations vanished before their crews realized they had been hit. The beam carved a perfectly straight corridor through the center of the armada. Hundreds of capital ships, thousands of escorts, 3 mobile fortresses gone. When the beam finally dissipated, A gap nearly 2 million kilometers long stretched through the Imperial fleet. The first Celestial Armada had literally been cut in half. Silence dominated every communications channel. No captain issued orders, no admiral spoke. Even the Galactic Council could only stare at the impossible destruction. The casualty counter climbed relentlessly, then stopped. Imperial capital ships destroyed 18,642. Mobile fortresses destroyed 3. Combat. Effectiveness remaining 24%. Grand Admiral Sarion slowly lowered himself into his command chair. He had spent his entire life believing the Empire could never lose. Now the truth stood before him. The Empire had not invaded a primitive world. It had challenged a civilization that had quietly transformed its home system into the greatest fortress in galactic history. He looked at the surviving fleet, broken formations, failing communications, crippled logistics, frightened crews. The battle was over. Only one decision remained. His communications officer looked toward him. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Sarion closed his eyes. For the first time in 12,000 years, an Ethetheran Grand Admiral prepared to speak the words no one thought would ever be heard. "Open a channel to humanity." Commander Elena watched the request appear on her display. General Hale looked at her. "They want to negotiate." Elena's eyes remained fixed on the battered Imperial fleet. "They're too late." She pressed a single command across the solar system. Every human warship advanced one final time. The message was unmistakable. Humanity would decide how this war ended. The first Celestial Armada drifted in silence. What had entered the solar system as the greatest invasion fleet in galactic history had become a graveyard of shattered metal. Wreckage stretched across billions of kilometers, illuminated only by the pale light of the distant sun. Thousands of disabled Imperial vessels floated helplessly, while rescue craft searched desperately for survivors. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Ethetheran Empire had been defeated. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Grand Admiral Sarion stood before the communications console. Every officer waited. The order weighed heavier than any command he had ever given. "Open a secure quantum channel." The operator nodded. "Channel established." A calm voice echoed across the bridge. "This is Commander Eleanor Ward of the United Earth Defense Command." Sarion took a slow breath. "I request a ceasefire." The bridge remained silent. Several human officers appeared behind Elena through the transmission. None celebrated. None mocked the defeated Empire. Their expressions remained calm, professional, disciplined. Elena finally answered, "You crossed humanity's sovereign border. You ignored every diplomatic warning. You entered our solar system with the intention of conquering Earth." She paused. "And now you request peace." Sarion lowered his head. "Yes." Deep beneath Triton, General Marcus Hale studied the latest battlefield assessment. The Empire had lost nearly 70% of its combat capability. Their command structure had collapsed. Supply lines no longer existed. Another attack would completely destroy the surviving fleet. He looked toward Elena. "The decision is yours." For several moments, she remained silent. Then she spoke. "Transmit our conditions." Across every surviving Imperial ship, humanity's message appeared simultaneously. Condition 1, all Imperial weapons would immediately power down. Condition 2, every surviving warship would withdraw beyond the helipores under human escort. Condition 3, the Ethetheran Empire would recognize the solar system as permanently sovereign human territory. Condition 4, the Empire would never again deploy military forces inside human-controlled space. Condition 5, every surviving officer would return home carrying humanity's warning. No negotiations, no compromises, only terms. Inside the Imperial flagship, several admirals protested immediately. "We still have thousands of warships. We can continue fighting. They've already shown they're strongest weapon. Sarian slowly turned toward them. No. He enlarged the tactical display. Hundreds of human fleets still surrounded them. Millions of interceptor craft continued patrolling. Ares Station remained fully operational. Most disturbing of all, the human casualty report had finally arrived through intercepted intelligence. Human capital ships lost. 0. Guardian super dreadnoughts destroyed. 0. Major defense installations lost. 0. The bridge became completely silent. One officer whispered, "We never even reached Mars." Another answered quietly, "We never reached Jupiter." Sarian looked toward the glowing icon representing Earth. "We never even reached the inner solar system." The order spread across the battered armada. One by one, Imperial weapons powered down. Missile bays closed. Plasma cannons cooled. Shield generators shifted to defensive standby. The first Celestial Armada surrendered. Not because every ship had been destroyed, because every commander understood that continuing the battle would accomplish nothing except the deaths of millions more. As the surviving Imperial fleet slowly turned toward interstellar space, humanity did something unexpected. Rescue vessels emerged from behind the Guardian fleets. Not attack ships, hospital ships, recovery craft, engineering vessels. General Hale smiled as he watched them depart. The rescue teams are already moving. An operations officer looked surprised. "We're helping them," Hale nodded. "They came here as enemies, but stranded sailors are no longer enemies. They're simply lives worth saving." Human medical ships began rescuing injured Imperial crews trapped inside damaged vessels. Repair drones stabilized crippled reactors to prevent further explosions. Escape pods were collected regardless of species. The human crews never asked whether the survivors had invaded Earth. They simply rescued them. The Galactic Council watched every moment. Disbelief spread through the chamber. A representative finally asked they're helping the invaders. Ambassador Lyra smiled. "That is why humanity won." Another delegate frowned. "They won because of superior technology." Lyra slowly shook her head. "No, they won because they prepared for war." Without losing their humanity, several weeks later, the surviving remnants of the first Celestial Armada crossed the edge of the solar system. Before the final Imperial ship departed, Commander Elena transmitted one final message addressed directly to Emperor Kais. The recording contained only a single image. Earth, small, blue, peaceful. Then Elena's voice spoke. "You believed distance made us weak. You believed silence meant fear. You believed our restraint was surrender." A brief pause followed. "You were wrong. We did not build these defenses because we desired conquest. We built them because history taught us a simple lesson. The strongest walls are built by those who hope they never have to use them." The image shifted. It displayed the wreckage of thousands of Imperial warships scattered beyond Neptune. "This is the closest any hostile fleet will ever come to Earth. If you return, we will not stop at the outer solar system." The transmission ended. Months later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session unlike any in its history. Emperor Kais himself appeared before every member civilization. His expression was no longer one of pride. It was one of hard-earned respect. He spoke only once. "The Athetheran Empire formally recognizes humanity as an equal sovereign power." He paused before continuing. "No," he corrected himself. "Not equal. Superior within its own domain." No representative objected. Every civilization had witnessed the battle. Every civilization knew the truth. The strongest empire in the galaxy had failed to reach the inner solar system. Centuries later, children across hundreds of worlds learned about the Battle of Neptune in their history classes. Teachers repeated the same lesson. The empire possessed the largest fleet. Humanity possessed the better strategy. The empire relied upon conquest. Humanity relied upon preparation. And every history book ended with the same sentence. Never mistake humanity's desire for peace as an inability to wage war. Far beyond Neptune, among the silent wreckage of the first celestial armada, a simple human memorial beacon continued broadcasting across the stars. This message never changed. This system is protected. Come in peace, or do not come at